Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and record this session because it tends to foster a little bit more discussion than previous or than the subsequent discussions. So I don't want to prolong us too long today because we've got a busy day packed full of stuff. And so here's some keys to participate fully today. I would love to see your smiling faces. Thank you, Tyler, as always, for wanting to be on video. And then we are gonna be doing some breakout room activities and some poll everywhere stuff. So please, I hope you're on a device where that will allow you to fully participate. All right, and we're gonna take the majority of the time today, so just be prepared for that. All right, okay, we are recording. I haven't forgot that. Okay, let's start with a couple poll everywhere questions. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and then I'm also going to hang on, Casey. Don't get ahead of yourself. There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm going to drop this link into the chat so that you can navigate to this page. All right, so there is the link, and I'm going to activate this question. So many pieces. I forgot about this over the summer. All right. All right, so hopefully you guys are looking at a poll everywhere page. Just a really quick introductory question in one word or phrase. How did week 1 go for you? Adjusting, good. Week 1 was slow, okay. Overwhelming, I'm sorry. Hopefully it'll slow down. Good, good, good. A couple okays. Uh-oh, I see some bads. I'm sorry. A lot of transition. I get that. I get that. All right. Excellent, excellent. So we'll take just about 20 more seconds, let everybody else get their responses in, and then we'll go to the next question.
Professor Diatley?
Yes.
I've been trying to copy and paste that link into my browser, and it says that the page no longer exists.
Oh,
is it okay if I just type my response into the chat?
No, it's okay.
I'll remove the comma. Okay.
Yeah, if there's a comma at the end of it, it's because I didn't copy it right. So if you delete the comma out, maybe that'll help. There we go. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for that. A variety of responses, everything from great to sad and bad. So I sincerely hope that the rest of the semester calms down a little bit and everybody is able to get into a routine. All right, let's go to the next question. All right, so just a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm not sure if you can do this via text. I think this is just a website one. So if you can't respond to this, that's okay. Do you like the organization of Blackboard? All right, so just a few more seconds to get those responses in. I'm going to say for the most part, it looks like we're a yes. If you were a no or a kinda and have some suggestions, please don't hesitate to share those with me. You can send me an email or grab me after class, whatever works for you. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up responses for this question. And let's go to our last question. And this one is open-ended. So what are you looking forward to the most in this class? I guess I should show responses. What are you looking forward to most in this class? Awesome. Writing and research. We're doing a bunch of that. Oh, people are excited about writing. Project freaks you out. Okay, hopefully you'll be less freaked out today. Analyze data. We're going to do a bunch of that. Sweet. Yeah, different style of writing. Data. Getting it done. Amen to that, brother. All right, research skills. Good, writing and research. Fantastic. I'm loving these responses, guys. Passing so you can get closer to graduating. I totally get that. I have started asking this question in this class because I really want your guys' buy-in in the class. It'll make it that much easier rather than it just is required and deal with it type of situation. We have plenty of those classes across campus. This one doesn't need to be one. So that's why I'm really excited to see a lot of you are interested in just figuring out how to do research. So that's great. All right, we'll take just a couple more seconds to get those responses in. All right, I think we're good. Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for participating in that. You can look forward to some Poll Everywhere questions every week. It's a really good way for me to get a handle on how you guys are interacting with the material, where the problems are, and try to be a little bit more engaging in this online environment. So, all right, we are gonna switch gears. What I want to do very quickly is just go through Blackboard for this next week for week 2 so that everybody is on the same page about what is due and when. And then we're gonna switch gears over to the research project. And as always, please feel free to jump in and ask questions at any point in time. Doing that over audio is probably better for me than trying to put it into the chat, because it's hard for me when I'm presenting to keep an eye on the chat. So please just keep that in mind. All right, so this week in 490, we are officially in week 2, and I did have an issue earlier. I had 2 of the wrong videos linked in, and a couple fellow classmates let me know about that. So thank you to those of you that emailed me about that. Everything should be set and ready to go now. So you've got the briefing. This also came out in as the weekly email on Friday, and you can expect that to occur every Friday. In our lecture folder, we've got basically one major lecture topic happening this week, and it's all about the anatomy of a scientific article, a scientific research article. And so you've got note guide. If you choose to use it, great. If not, that's fine too. It's not required. It's just as an aid for you. And then there are 3 video lectures, and these links are directly to YouTube videos. And then once you're done with video lectures, I suggest going back, studying a little bit, and then taking this quiz, the anatomy of a publication quiz. And so that quiz is due Friday, September 3rd by the end of day. So please just make sure that's on your calendar. The second activity that we're going to do this week, I just put up, and this is because we're going to talk about it more in depth today. And it's a discussion board entry, and it's not super long. So when you click on the discussion board, you can then launch that discussion board. And what this is going to be an extension of what we're going to do today in class. So this discussion board post and at least 3 comments to your classmates' posts are due by the end of day Friday as well, on September 3rd, this Friday. So you have 2 things due this week. You have the quiz, the lecture quiz, and you have the discussion board post and comments. Please don't forget about the comments. All of them are graded as well. And so the discussion board is where you are going to submit 3 or more questions you're interested in researching about what's presented today. After you submit your questions, please go back in and comment on 3 fellow classmates' posts. And the comments should be way beyond simply liking or agreeing with your classmates' posts. The whole idea here is for us to start learning how to ask deeper questions. So make comments on posts that will enable your fellow classmate to ask deeper questions. I encourage you to please keep those comments constructive. All right, so 2 things due this week. Any questions around those 2 things? And yes, the Padlet post is due Friday as well. And lecture 1 video quiz, I think, is officially due Friday. So there are a bunch of things due this week if you didn't get to week 1 stuff last week, okay? So I did want to not be super overwhelming last week, because I know it takes a little bit to get up and going at the beginning of a new semester. So please keep that in mind, that everything that was assigned last week plus these 2 assignments this week are due end of day September 3rd. End of day means 11:59 p.m. Hannah, thank you for asking. All right, any other questions? Sweet. Okay, we're gonna switch gears. So today I am going to share with you a little bit about the research project that we have going on at the university farm that we are going to use for this class. So it's my goal today to give you some background as well as get you guys to kind of think, or help me think of good questions to ask. So I have kind of my agenda when it comes to what we need to ask in this, or what we need to do as far as data collection and hypotheses and those type of things. But I'm really excited to actually bring you guys into this process, because you guys will give us a whole nother view of things. And so we're going to do a couple of activities today around what is presented. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. It's just a PowerPoint. Oh, you know what? I should probably do this first. There we go. All right, so let's see here. Taking me a minute to get back in the Zoom of things. Okay, are you guys seeing slides on the board? If you would just give me a thumbs up or just tell me, that would be great. Great, thank you. Okay, so if you guys have been through the lecture or the lecture for this week, you will see this timeline. And so this timeline is really kind of a timeline of the different steps of the scientific method. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Yeah, we're good. Yep. And so with this timeline, we are going to step each one of these steps out throughout the class. But today what I wanted to do was, was really focus on this idea of coming up with good questions to ask. So when we are dealing with the process of research, the first step is always that we start with a question. Okay, and so the formation of those questions can actually be a little bit more complex than simply asking a question. But, and so that's what we're going to work through today. So we're starting at the very beginning of this process today. All right, so just to give you a little bit of background, this is part of a presentation that I gave to the California Department of Food and, or California CDFA, California Department of Food and Agriculture, a couple of years ago, actually a little over a year ago, to their animal health committee. And so with this project, it really comes from a place of, we are out of options. We don't know what to do in this state. And so this is not only an issue for producers, it's an issue for people that are in the regulation portion of agriculture. It's an issue for veterinarians, and it's an issue for folks that are you know, in the regulation part of the non-ag sector. So like Air Resource Board, Cal Recycle, those type of things as well. And so one of the issues that brought this concept of mortality, livestock mortality composting up is because we keep having really extreme natural disasters in California. I mean, everything from wildfire to flood to extreme heat. And so in 2017, we had about a week in July that was the beginning of July that just caused some horrendous temperatures throughout the state. And the hardest hit was in the Central Valley around the Kern and Kings County areas. And so extreme temperatures that were up over 115 degrees Fahrenheit actually resulted in some massive dairy cow deaths in this area. So we saw these really big dairies that, you know, are anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000 head of cows, just having a lot of cows die because of the heat. And so what ended up happening is the carcasses were so numerous that they couldn't get enough of the carcasses actually to a rendering plant. We'll talk about what a rendering plant is here in just a second, to be disposed of. And so these producers and these counties actually had to petition the state Secretary of Agriculture, Karen Ross, to for a solution. And the solution ended up being burying the carcasses. And that is a novel concept for California, because even though we as producers may be used to it as a means of disposing animals, it's not necessarily legal. And so the legality of these processes varies from county to county. It's one of those things that's actually regulated at the county level. And so Shasta County, where I live at right now, is very different than Lassen County. And so we can't bury anything in Shasta County, but we can bury livestock in Lassen County. The caveat to that is that in order to bury an animal, you have to actually do it at a depth of at least 6 feet. Well, for those of you guys that have been around California winters, up here in the northern counties or in high elevation counties, like on the east side that has a lot of cold temperatures during the winter and a lot of precipitation, rain and snow both, what do you guys think the chances are of actually being able to dig a pit if something dies in the winter? What do you think? This is the part where you talk to me.
Not very likely.
Not very likely. Exactly. So there's no way, even with the backhoe, that you're going to get to dig 6 feet in the middle of winter up here on our ranch. So it's just too cold. The ground is too frozen at that point in time. So that really leaves, if we have something die during the winter, it really only leaves us being able to legally ship it to rendering. And so the problem with that is that the rendering plants in the state have decreased dramatically over the last 100 years. So in 1921, we had a little over 800 rendering plants throughout the state. That increased through the Great Depression and into the 1950s, but then we started to see those plants go away and dispersing in the 70s. And then by 1997 and 2006, we saw a massive reduction in the number of rendering plants that are available in the state. So first of all, my question is for you guys. Let me back out of this and stop sharing. So either by speaking up or using reactions, how many of you guys have heard the term rendering before? All right, cool. We've got about half of you. Yeah, right about half. Great. How many of you guys that have heard the term rendering before actually know what it means? Okay, a few do not. All right, so let me do something really quickly here. So a rendering plant, we actually had one in Butte County, south of Chico or south of Durham on Highway 99. You used to drive by it and it would smell really bad. Let me see if I can find a picture of one. So a rendering plant is, I equate it to like the cremation process but this is for animals. And so they use really high temperatures to actually dispose of tissues and bones and all of that type of stuff. And so let me think. Let me share this really quickly. All right, so here's a picture of kind of the inside of a rendering plant. They use these big tubes to actually do the what we'll call the cremation process. So the breaking down of the carcass. And what ends up fueling that is it takes a lot of energy and a lot of heat to make that process work. And so I think there was a few more. I don't know, this is probably bad. Oh, it's just The Simpsons. But anyway, so they, the rendering plants typically have been, or since the beginning of time, have really taken over, have really taken on the process of getting rid of waste from slaughterhouses or taking on dead animals. They also collect waste from restaurants and take it and put it into that facility as well. So if we kind of go back to our presentation here, we've seen the number of rendering plants definitely take a hit. So in 2006, I think there was, let me look at my, there we go. Yeah, there was a little over 200 of them in the state, or sorry, in the US, not the state. And as of 2018, there were 3 left in California. 3. So what are some reasons that you guys kind of think that we've seen a decrease in the number of rendering plants in specifically in California?
Is it due to the high energy demands in order to keep up with all the high carcasses?
Yep, so high energy demands, this is definitely a high energy input. That's one great reason. What are some others?
The air quality issues.
Yes, air quality. So I don't think it's any mystery, right, that California has air quality issues. So, and part of those issues are because of like natural disasters, but part of the part of the issue is also because of the geography of California. So does anybody live around kind of Fresno, Bakersfield type areas?
I do.
Okay, so Chloe, talk to me about air quality in that region.
I'm from Visalia, so it's right in the middle of Fresno and Bakersfield. And normally you should be able to see the Sierra Nevadas, but we haven't seen the Sierra Nevadas on a daily basis since the 90s.
Yeah.
So like all of the smog just sits in the valley and sinks there, and the air quality is terrible.
Yeah. That was one thing that I didn't really put two and two together until I spent some time in Visalia about 4 years ago. But it's really kind of a weird thing because the large population of people is in Southern California, right? And so that's where we see a lot of smog. There's also a lot of farming in that area, so we see dust particles and stuff be part of the issue too. So when we get wind off of the West Coast that comes in through the Delta, the wind that goes to the south actually will push all of that really poor air quality and particulate matter down in the bowl that is made up by the Sierra Nevadas and then kind of the grapevine Tehachapi's. And it just sits there, right? And so Chloe, is that correct? Is my science on that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so air quality is a big issue. And so in an effort to not have so many air quality issues, the Air Quality and Resources Board for the state of California has made some really hard requirements for the rendering plants, to the point that if they are not able to actually make the repairs to meet the demands, they're just shutting down. And so that is a big issue here, because we've seen these rendering plants just decrease in total population and numbers, but the need for them has not decreased at all. So we still have animals that die. We still have a large population. Therefore, we've got a ton of restaurant waste that needs to be taken care of. And now we're layering on top of that natural disasters like fires, right? So for those of you guys that have been around Chico State, one of our professors, Dave Daly, had the Bear Fire go through their Forest Service permit this time last year, September 7th of last year, and killed almost 400 head of cows of his. And there's absolutely no way that you can get rid of all of them in that event. And we've seen some pretty crazy climate change type stuff, like really cold temperatures in the winter and really warm temperatures in the summer that have resulted in a bunch of die-off as well. And so we've got this huge need for rendering plants, and yet we have very few rendering plants. And so we were approached by California Cattlemen's Association in 2017. That's when this project first started getting off the ground, and by California Department of Food and Ag to research livestock mortality composting. And so that's really where this process has come from. So in addition to some of those needs for getting rid of and disposing of carcasses, outside of just, natural deaths and that type of thing, is we also have a few small packing plants around the state. And these small packing plants are really instrumental to the rural towns and communities. And so one of the costs that they have is the disposal of what we call offal or butcher's waste. And so that can run anywhere between like $120, I think is probably the cheapest that I have seen, up to $300 per pickup. And so if you are a slaughterhouse like the Meat Slab at Chico State, you're killing animals at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, and you are and you have just a continuous supply of offal and butcher waste. That means that you have to have a continual pickup or a weekly pickup. And if that weekly pickup is $120 a pickup, you can see how that would actually be a pretty big cost on an annual basis to a small packing plant that has really small profit margins already. And so we see a need for this composting or an alternate way to dispose of carcasses and tissues from the small packing plant as well. In addition to that, we also have a big wolf problem and a large predation problem with livestock, particularly in Northern California or in the high elevation country. And so the wolf has been a big issue. If you guys have been through any of my range management or beef classes, we talk about the wolf quite a bit. It is in the process of re-establishing its ecosystem here in California. We won't get into the debate of whether that is their original home or not, but it's happening. And so we have producers that are losing animals, especially over kind of where the Dixie Fire is at right now. They aren't having to worry about it at the moment, but Taylorsville, Plumas County, Sierra County areas that have had some of the larger wolf packs get in and kill calves, kill cows, that type of thing. And then if those animals aren't disposed of or moved, it will actually draw in other predators. So just because we're seeing the kill action happen with the wolf because they like bigger animals that they can chase, it's also luring in other predators like mountain lions, coyotes, bears is a big one that is California is going to have to face here before too long. And so being able to get rid of those carcasses in a responsible manner could help mitigate some of that wolf issue as well, and predation issues. And so these are just a handful of issues that we have. And the cool part about it is that composting could actually be a solution for each one of these issues. And so the current state of composting is that as of right now, it's currently illegal in California. So animal disposal is regulated on a county by county basis, meaning that the state has some say in it, but it really comes down to how the counties want to deal with it. And I personally like that. We don't need any more blanket policies in this state, I think. So, us up here in Shasta County have a much smaller population and more open space to do this type of process than folks in like LA County, okay? And so really the only legal means of getting rid of a deceased animal is through rendering, which we don't have very many plants left, burial in some counties, and then landfill in some counties as well. And the landfill thing honestly scares the crap out of me, because if this goes to a landfill and this carcass is allowed to set and rot and they aren't using like cogeneration to actually get rid of it, then what ends up happening is that it becomes a spot for like harboring of disease. And so what ends up happening is that, or what has ended up happening is that composting is actually legal in 34 other states across the nation, including New York, which was surprising to me. And then the other surprising states or non-surprising states are like Montana and Wyoming. All right, so from an economic standpoint, if we could make composting work the way it needs to in a safe manner, we could decrease costs for rural producers, and we might be able to diversify an operation by offering this as a service. Okay, and so, but the long term is that we're going to be able to mitigate mass death events, control animal disease outbreaks as long as we can do this responsibly, mitigate predation, and then in my opinion, I think that it is a more efficient transfer of nutrients, right? So we're taking a dead animal and creating something that can be added to soil. That is a pretty cool concept. All right, so the first activity here is that I want to take, and we're running short on time, so I'll kind of back off on the timeline a little bit. Let's take 2 minutes. And while you guys are taking 2 minutes to kind of think through some thoughts that you have about this issue, I'm going to go ahead and assign you to breakout rooms, okay? And when you're in the breakout rooms, I want you guys to each share your thoughts and your questions around this issue. All right, and so we'll do 5-minute breakout rooms and then we'll come back together. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set the breakout rooms up. And so if you guys will, I'm going to do, how many do we have here? We've got 28, yeah, I'll do 6 of them. Okay, if you guys will accept the breakout request here in just a second. When you get into your rooms, please elect a spokesperson, okay, that will come back and share some of your thoughts about this issue with when we come all back together. All right. So here we go. All the rooms should be open.
In it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the spokesperson, so I'll go. We had a lot of good questions, like how, like where would the plants, or like where would the composting take place and how concentrated across a given area, and then like what would we do afterwards, and how long would it take to go from render or byproduct to compost? What does that time frame look like? And someone else brought up the cost effectiveness, and it seemed like all the questions we were talking about kind of came back around to that. Like,
excellent. Great. Okay, guys, thank you so much. How about breakout room number 2?
For our group, we just kind of brought up in regards to the differences between counties, and kind of like how is it that they're kind of regulating, like is it through the soil, that checking to see in farmers if they are disposing of like their carcasses, like if they were like caught doing it illegally versus like another county that it was kind of legal. Another thing that we were talking about was in regards to kind of like composting, if that could be something that can be brought up, or kind of like what are the regulations in regards to that. Those are pretty much the questions that we kind of had.
Great. Excellent. What about breakout room number 3? That's who we're on, right? Yeah.
Yep. So for our group, the first question that we kind of kept asking was, what are the restrictions for creating this compost? Because I know that in a lot of the plant-based ones, it's like you don't put this in or you don't put that in, you put this much in. And so we were just curious on the restrictions, and then kind of on that, to follow up, another question that came up was, what are the different methods compared to plant-based compost?
Great. Excellent. All right, guys, thank you. And room number 4.
Yeah, I think we were just trying to figure out, or like our question was kind of based like on like how long does it really take, like the whole, like from start to finish, like the composting. And then
Yeah.
like, if there are any cons in composting, like what would they be, or like why wouldn't we do it, something like that.
Okay.
And then kind of just like on the whole burial thing, like why, like how did it come to be illegal in some counties, and like is there a way like it can be affecting like groundwater, like leaching and stuff like that? And then yeah, I think all the other ones are kind of similar to those two like basic questions.
Excellent. Great questions, guys. All right. And then breakout room number 5.
We also had kind of a similar question, like how long does it take, and is it an efficient process? Like, is there just gonna be dead animals piling up, or like, is it gonna be, can we convert that like pretty relatively in a timely manner? And also, how it affects the industry and how it affects people like outside of it, like people that probably wouldn't care, like how would it affect them, type of thing.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because the biggest, because I've been working with Butte County through this whole process, and their biggest concern is odor. They do not want to hear from neighbors that there's an odor issue. So I had to write an odor management plan. It was a stretch. So awesome. These are great questions, guys. Thank you so much for participating. All right, so we're going to take this, what we did here, just one more step, and we're going to do that with I'm going to bring it up so I can show you with the discussion board. And so let me share my screen with you. Here we are. All right, so on the discussion board, you can get to that through the week 2 activity module. Okay, and so this assignment is really kind of taking what we did here, but putting some more thought into it and narrowing the focus. Okay, so we're going to narrow the focus to the composting process. Okay, so not necessarily why is it not illegal, not associated with a lot of the regulation around it, but the actual compost process. Okay, so you're going to submit 3 or more questions that you're interested in researching further about livestock mortality composting. Okay, and so in the confines of this class. Okay, so after you submit your questions, please comment on at least 3 classmates' questions and help them to take their thought and question a little bit deeper. Okay, so ask really probing, interesting, constructive, and kind questions to them, okay? Or make suggestions. So don't simply like their post or agree with them, but take it a little bit more in depth. And so you guys remember last week I told you research was messy. This is part of that messy process, is figuring out which questions that are really going to be important and which questions we actually have the feasibility to investigate. And so this question asking process is one of many that we're going to do over the next couple of weeks. All right, so keep in mind that when it comes to the quality of work, that I have the utmost faith in you guys that you can do this. You're all seniors, so let's do senior level work and not freshman level work, all right? So again, the 4th thing that is due this week is the discussion board entry, where you write 3 questions and you also comment on 3 students' questions as well. All right. And try to spread out the love a little bit. Okay. So don't comment on the 3 questions that one student had. Comment on 3 different students' questions, if you would, please. All right. Any questions or comments or concerns about what is due this week or this discussion post activity? Fantastic. It looks like everybody's got a good handle on it. So really quickly, just keep in mind next Monday is Labor Day, so we won't be meeting. So I won't meet you guys back here on Zoom until the 12th, okay? But be on the lookout for emails and announcements.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye, Casey.
See ya.